Let me first address the elephant in the room. With the scarcity of new vehicles to sell, and I'm asking even you, Chase, is there still value in attending the annual new car show, be it Detroit, Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, maybe even some of the smaller ones like one we have here? Is there any worth still to it? And more importantly, if the local Automotive Dealers Association sponsors it, will the manufacturers come? This is a question that's being asked and answered as a number of the world's main car shows attempt an in-person comeback, and it's not looking good. Case in point, one of the premier global shows that has a lot of manufacturers, large and small, come. It's world-renowned. It's Geneva in Geneva, Switzerland. They haven't been able to have it for the last 2 years. They just canceled it again for the third year. In 2020, when they canceled it, they literally canceled it days before it held. Manufacturers lost millions of dollars. People, hotels, people prepaid for hotels, airfare, all that stuff. There was a lot of money on the table that got lost. They've been trying to resurrect that show now for 3 years. And the sad part of it is they just said for 2023, they're not going to do it. In fact, they're going to do something kind of weird. They're going to try to start the show not in Geneva, Switzerland in the winter, but Doha, Qatar in the summer. In Doha, I'm sorry. I don't get it, but okay. They have not released a list of participating manufacturers, and we don't know who's going to show up, but they're going to try it. And this is just one of the problems, but they're not alone. Detroit's been trying to do this now for a couple of years, and typically the Detroit show was always held at Cobo Hall in January. And if you've never been to Detroit in January, those are two good reasons not to go. Detroit and January, not a good combination. So with COVID, they thought they'd try to move the thing out of Cobo, move it to summer. They've been trying to do this. They had something called Motabella last year, part at a racetrack, part next to the Detroit River. It rained hard for a couple of days. One of the sponsors told me, so it kind of, if you'll pardon the pun, dampened interest in the show. Now they're trying to resurrect the show at the center again. One little problem. It's been known as the North American International Auto Show since 1989. It was the place. If you were an automaker across the world, you wanted to introduce it in America, this was one of the venues, if not the premier venue to introduce your new car, truck, concept, whatever. Right now, as of this writing, according to the Detroit Bureau, they said, confirmed right now, only 4 manufacturers are coming. 4. Now, the reason why that matters, if you're a media outlet like Roadworthy Drive, multiply that times thousands of just media people who are trying to make a decision, because very often we travel to these things at our own dime. Sometimes the automakers provide a few dollars, either for a hotel room or something to go. But basically, a lot of these shows, if you see a media type on media days, they paid for it themselves. If you're a media type looking at your calendar and you're trying to determine biggest bang for the buck, where can I go where I can get a lot of face time either with manufacturer officials and new vehicles? This is not good for Detroit, because people used to come from all over the world. I've been to the North American Auto Show media days, and it used to be crazy. We're talking 5,000-6,000 media from all over the world being there. That Sunday was totally insane, totally crazy nuts, but it was the place to be. So the question is, Chase, you're not necessarily a car guy. So let me back up a minute. Let me ask a peculiar question. Would your father go to a car show at this point?
Yeah, maybe.
Still?
Yeah, I think so.
You're like, man.
If it was in the area, if it was, or in an area he was willing to travel to.
Chicago?
I think he'd consider, although he does, He likes a little more of the auction scene, I think, too.
Really?
It's part
Well,
of it.
that's true too. He does because
Yeah,
he's more into
Arizona.
classics and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Chicago had its own challenges, and I can speak to this personally. Chicago did not have its traditional show in 2021. They had an abbreviated show that summer, which I went to. They had their regular show in 2022 in February, but it was only half the show it used to be. Now, to be honest, we had seen a move afoot prior to the pandemic of a growing number of smaller manufacturers who were choosing to skip auto shows. Chicago, New York, LA, where an automaker would cover them all, maybe they're covering one or two. The automaker's take on this is that, one, it costs millions of dollars to set up a display, to fly in journalists, to have, they'll have like dinners and talks and press conferences. That adds up to a lot of money. What they're finding now, and the pandemic only reinforced, they're looking for smaller venues with greater interaction with potential buyers, potential media types. So they're doing things like classic car shows like in Monterey, California, which is a very high-end show, Pebble Beach. And a lot of vehicles were introduced there. The Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, a lot of vehicles and concepts, particularly electric vehicles, introduced there. They're looking for different venues where they get more bang for the buck, and particularly what they call off-site venues, where it costs them a lot less to set it up and they can get the interaction. Question is, and we've asked this before, but more so now, will there be a car show in the future? According to statistics, yes.
Probably put it virtual.
Perhaps.
Food waste. It's a thing that's almost as dangerous as fossil fuels. We explain. This is Roadworthy Drive.